this video, I'm going to show you how to make a winter scene shadow box and go over some of the lessons that I learned in making this for the first time. The first thing I'm doing is cutting out all of the layers of the winter scene so that I can assemble them together all at the same time. Okay, here are all of the layers put together. I'm separating them so that I can work on this church. I cut out kind of a rusty orange for the roof because I am patterning this church off of the one that you are about to see in the corner. This church is one that is right on the back side of a relative of mine's house in Switzerland, and it has family history value to it. This shadow box is a gift for my mom for Christmas, and so I am trying to make it personalized and meaningful to her. Now that I have that roof piece cut the way that I need it to fit onto this, I'm just gluing it onto the white layer. And then I'm going to glue it to this gray layer to complete the look of the church. With the church piece securely in place, now I am putting glue dots around the edge so that everything stays secure, and I trimmed up the steeple of the church a little bit. Now I'm moving on to the next layer. I decided to do this on my own. This wasn't part of the instructions. I wanted to add a little bit of color and dimension to that tree, so I cut it out separately so I could add it to the back. This is the final layer to glue together. This is the front of the scene, and it's a similar concept to what I just did. It's putting two pieces together to give depth to that layer. On to the exciting part. I'm going to start assembling all of the pieces in the frame to complete this project. I'm putting the first layer in and positioning it in the frame. Unfortunately, with the Cricut, you can't cut exactly 12 by 12. It has to be about 11.5 inches. And this frame is 12 by 12. So I have a little bit of a gap on the edge, which I'll make up for later on with the plastic insert pieces that you saw me taking out of the frame at the beginning. But I was getting it lined up to make sure that it would fit in the frame properly, and it does. And so now I'm using glue dots and raised foam squares in between each layer to make it dimensional. As promised, the first thing that I want to talk about that I learned is I don't think I would ever buy a 12 by 12 frame again because of what I mentioned earlier, which is the Cricut will only cut a max of 11.5 inches. So I found when I put all the pieces together and put those plastic squares back in, it made the paper a little bit wavy. So in the future, I think I would go with a 9 by 9 or an 8 by 8 and just make the picture a little bit smaller. The final assembly step is to put the fairy lights in between several of the layers. That's what I am doing here. Another lesson that I learned is I wish that I would have started putting the fairy lights in as I put the layers together. As you can see here, I have to undo some of my glue dots and I struggle to get the light to go in, and I feel like if I had done it as I was assembling the layers, I would have a lot better control of the placement and it would be a lot easier overall. To finish off this string of lights, I am going to create a loop right where the sun or the moon, whichever way you want to look at it, is on the picture so that it shines brighter. And then I'm leaving just enough for it to stick outside the frame. Then I put two of the plastic squares on the inside, put the backing on, and now I'm putting the final square on top of the backing so that it gives me space for the switch for the fairy lights and won't cause bulk if my mom wants to hang this on her wall. The very last thing I'm doing is putting glue dots on the back of the switch so that it stays in place on the back of the frame. Thanks for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. If you have questions, please be sure to comment. See you next time.